Our next session has to do about technology. And as Vijay just said, we need to be updated on the latest technology. And there's little doubt that the adoption of cloud technologies and services is growing rapidly as organizations are looking to benefit from, social, cloud, analytics, IoT, big data. And at the same time, IT leaders like you have to need to strike a balance between the many conflicting demands which are being placed on the IT infrastructure. So how do you ensure that business units have the agility to act and deploy new solutions without breaking the budget? The budget is always the constraint. So to explain, we have Alkesh Datta from HP Enterprise. Alkesh is the regional sales specialist north for hybrid cloud and software-defined data center for HP Enterprise. He specializes in virtualization, containers, and hyper-converged infrastructure, along with cloud platforms like VMware Stack, OpenStack, and Microsoft Stack. He has extensive experience in working with varied customers to implement virtualization, SDDC, and enterprise cloud projects. So he's going to be talking today about making hybrid IT simple. So please welcome on stage Mr. Alkesh Datta from HP Enterprise.
Thank you. So the presentation just finished. It was so inspiring that I had to roll back and come back into the technology part, which I'm going to talk about. So I represent Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, and basically I look after everything which is software-defined and cloud platforms for North. So now, today, if we basically talk about technology, the rapid changes which are happening is actually accelerating beyond the point, right? So, and if you look at the way technology is basically progressing, every day there are new jargons, new technologies, and new vendors coming in with different type of solutions. Now, as decision makers and someone who are evaluating technology, I am presenting what we at HP think should be the right fit for our customers, how we make the whole process of hybrid IT simple. So today, if we look at it, there are two things. One is your applications, the other is your data. Applications, basically the type of applications, the velocity of applications, the changes that the applications are bringing is tremendous. Everyone today has a smartphone, and God knows how many applications you have deployed. Every type of services that you use basically get deployed via an application. And then when you see that the primary, as a digital enterprise is growing, customers, the applications are becoming the primary contact point for the enterprises. Today, if I need to go anything, I hardly talk to any call center agent. I just go and just look at the app. I decide what I want. I want to start a service, stop a service. I want this, that. I can basically do it on the applications itself. The applications also enable you, because it resides on your phone, it also enables you to maybe push marketing things that you would want your customers to evaluate. So today, if I find that someone has taken a holiday, let's say of the Novembers and Decembers of the year, you would want to have something delivered when he is taking a decision. And if you put it on a website, there are chances that you may not reach him, but with applications you can do. So how you target your end customers, the applications are becoming a major focal area. Second is data. There is data everywhere. The velocity, the type of data which is coming is phenomenal. You're getting all kinds of video data, you're getting all kinds of data today. You need to analyze the data, you need to make meaning out of the data. How you manage your data is also becoming very critical for enterprises. And when you have to find that, how you will manage your applications, how fast you can go to market. Today, the role of IT is no longer about keeping the lights on. So you can't be saying that, okay, IT is there, everything is running. So we saw when IT was not flexible, right? What happened? The public clouds came in, no one actually realized how big they suddenly became. I have been doing cloud and virtualization earlier in VMware and now in HP. And every time I go and meet someone senior, half the time they tell me that they didn't even know that some application business went ahead and deployed on the public clouds. Now they're saying, now we have to manage it. And this is very common. And this is happening everywhere. And the reason that is happening is that maybe the business thought the IT couldn't deliver fast enough, or they wanted to go to market faster. So today IT is all about enabling businesses so that you are faster, you are quicker. Anyone can come up with a new idea for business. But how quickly you can deploy that service or how functionality, how quickly you will deploy will basically determine how you go to market. Within 6 months, anyone else will anyway copy it. So basically what you have, I bring a new feature in my product, I have 6 months. If I can make a positive mindset in the first 6 months, then maybe customer is giving me an extra value for that. If the idea is good, anyway someone else is going to copy it. And they said, we want to do this. And how difficult or how quickly you can deploy is actually what matters. And this is the reality. On one side, you will have a huge lot, unless you are a startup who is basically gone straight to the cloud, which is a rare case, but then you grow up. But even those organizations, like even the Snapdeals of the world had to decide one day whether we will be on the cloud or we will move something in-house, right? So even everyone has this question which comes up. And here we find that you are basically having one traditional application set, which is basically your operations driven and cost optimized. You run your SAPs, your Oracles of the world on this platform. And these are very important applications because this is what is running your business today, right? But on the other hand, you have these cloud native applications, the container applications, which are constantly getting updated. Some of your mobile applications get updated every second or third day. The kind of the agility that these applications bring in is phenomenal. So Gartner called this bimodal. You have a traditional infrastructure and a cloud native infrastructure. Now tell me one thing, given an option, will you like to be doing this traditional infrastructure, or you are basically want to focus more on this cloud native side? Because business will find more value here, whereas everything is running here. So while it is easy to say maybe do bimodal, but actually if you look at it, you cannot have multiple silos. How many silos will IT support? The complexity that an IT infrastructure is bringing today is phenomenal. On top of it, if you have to support multiple, so what is happening? You have multiple public clouds which are running, you have multiple traditional infrastructures, then you went ahead and deployed maybe SAP, which is again another silo. So you are bringing silos of everything. And for everything, all of this, you have to then basically buy additional hardware, software, and so that you have the scale. So what we at HP have looked at this, and what we have found is that this model is not sustainable. You cannot have you cannot have a silo of traditional infrastructure. You cannot have something which is again totally cloud optimized or totally a software defined. But that is something that as an IT vendor, I should not be telling you what is your right way you should be doing. So basically what we say is your right mix. Now each of you represent a separate or different organization. Your priorities are your organizational priorities. And your priorities come from the way the business wants to run overall, which way they're going, and how you as IT can support business to basically bring the best out of the organization. So we have basically put around 4 quadrants. So base is the delivery model you are looking at. Base is the kind of application set that you are looking at. Basically the kind of developer environment you are looking at. Basically the way you want to manage it, or basically the way of infrastructure that you want to deploy. You can put it in each of these quadrants. So if someone says that you are going to do an external consumption, let's say Office 365 kind of an environment, you are going to do external consumption, and all the innovations may be driven from the application side itself. In that case, it makes more sense to put it on the public cloud. In case you are saying that, no, I want to optimize my service delivery and I want those applications to be in-house because there are other multiple constraints, whether it is a delivery model or your management or anything else, I want to have it in-house, then you should be doing a private cloud. If it is a traditional applications like an Oracle, if you want to run a very specific set of applications which is more into the infrastructure on a traditional side, you can just put it in-house as a core infrastructure that will run. So, and last but not the least is composable. So composable is a new topic I will cover in a little detail, but composable basically allows you to run practically any kind of application. So if you look at it, this is more into a cloud delivery model or a hybrid or private cloud delivery model. This is more into a hybrid infrastructure, how you will deploy the infrastructure. And then if you look at how infrastructure has progressed. First, you had the silos when everything was traditional. You took a server, you took a storage, you built an infrastructure, you deployed the application on top of it. Life was good, very simple. You just had to manage a single stack. That's it. You build multiple of these stacks. Then they decided that, okay, can you take the servers, can you take the network, can you take the storage and bring it together? And basically the infrastructure became converged. You had multiple vendors. HP was also one of the vendors who would come and talk about converged infrastructure, and basically you would then decide how you go about it. But then today if you look at it, the way the application sets are getting optimized and delivered, you will find that people are asking for cloud-like simplicity, cloud-like management, cloud-like operations. Everything has to be simple. So today the benchmark of delivering on-premise infrastructure is not traditional or hyper-converged. It is basically the public clouds. Is it as easy to use as public clouds? Can you go and right-click and just get a VM created? How is the management? Are you doing the entire stack management yourself? Are you going and creating everything yourself? Or basically the software is smart enough to do that? So when we look at it from a perspective of how we deliver IT infrastructure today, the basic comparison is that it has to be as simple, as fast, as easy to use as public clouds. With this, hyper-converged has taken off really well because hyper-converged takes the storage elements, the computes, the networks, and binds them together in a very easy to use. Now the primary USP of hyper-converged is management, how fast or how easy it is to manage. But hyper-converged does mostly this for a virtual environment. Now, HP has a very big customer set. And when we go and talk to a lot of our customers, a lot are saying, I want to do containers. I don't want to virtualize my infrastructure, I'm going direct to containers. And they said, can I deploy containers on bare metals? So when these kind of questions are coming up, we have an entire new generation of infrastructure which is composable. Composable delivers physical, virtual containers, everything within a single infrastructure. And this is what our outlook is. And this is what we think the market overall will pivot to. First is that everything is going to become software defined. You can deploy storage as software defined, the network software defined, the compute elements are software defined, and you can basically compose, recompose, and make changes just like you can at real time at any point of time. Everything should be programmable so that even your application should be able to call your hardware. Today, if your applications call, let's say you want to scale out or scale up, if your virtual machines or your application said, I want 10 additional VMs, you can go and do it at a hypervisor level, right? But what happens below the hypervisor? If there is no infrastructure which is there, so your hypervisor will then call the infrastructure below. If you look at it, you cannot do that. But once you have programmable infrastructure, you can have the application up and running. You can write the business logic that if my application starts choking, please go and tell the hypervisor to deploy 10 additional virtual machines, and please tell the infrastructure below to auto scale so that you, let's say, add another 50 TB of storage into this application itself. And this is happening in an autonomic manner. You are not deciding. By the time the application realizes it needs additional elements or additional capacity, it is going and calling it the infrastructure itself. So the infrastructure that is there should be scalable and flexible enough, just like the public clouds. Second is that when you look at deploying services, it should be very simple as well as easy to use. You should be able to carve out maybe a tenant and give it to the developer community or multiple business units so that they can deploy their own infrastructure if they want to be. And second thing is that it has to be a multi-platform support. So when we are looking at it from HP, we are not looking at only like okay, if it is that X infrastructure, we will support. If it is Y, we will support. We have a very open ecosystem, and we are basically partner to all other large OEMs. If you talk about VMware, we are one of the largest partners. If we talk about Microsoft, we are one of the largest partners. And there, if it is OpenStack or any other platform, we are large partners. And we work with virtually everyone. HP hardly tells you that we have to be specific to this set of applications, then we will work. Third is that it is going to be a multi-consumption cloud. You will run applications on the public cloud. You will run applications in-house. You should be able to basically have the analytical capabilities to decide whether if I run these applications on a private infrastructure versus the public infrastructure, or if from a public infrastructure, whether in Azure or in Google or AWS, which makes more sense to me. Those kind of, basically the intelligence the system should be able to provide it to you. And then you can take a business intelligence call basis your priorities, how you do it. This will ensure that you have absolutely no kind of lock-in, right, in any way. So OEMs and the IT vendors, their strategy may keep changing. But then you should have the open capabilities, or the platform should be open enough that they can support. Simplify, how we simplify the operations, how we simplify development, and how we deliver it to our business is basically what is going to matter. And for this, in many cases, it can be a mix of private or public cloud. So many a times it was like, oh, are we going to be in-house or are we going to be public? Then everyone decided that either or is not going to work out, and now we basically have come to the environment when everyone knows that hybrid is the way to go. We had this case study of Dropbox, which basically moved from AWS. Every day you will hear some cases when some vendor is going, some enterprise is going from private to public. And when, in some cases, if we can deliver the right economics for the right applications with the right infrastructure, then it makes more sense whether it is private, public, hyperconverged, or composable. It really is not a if or kind of a situation. You decide basis your economics, basis the money you will deploy, on how or where the applications should reside. Secondly, also the kind of security and things that you need. So I'm going to cover a little more on a product side on how we are covering the 4 scenarios. One is how we are making hybrid infrastructure simple, how we are making IT operations simple, how we're making hybrid cloud simple, and also in many cases how we're making consumption easy. So everyone is today looking for an OpEx kind of an environment, or even the consumption, how you actually pay for the services that you utilize also is becoming a very important decision when you are going to select a vendor. So there is the servers, there is the storage, there is the networking elements. Everything comes together in a box, and that is how IT has run. HP is a leader in servers. We sell tons of them. So we know how the infrastructure are getting deployed.
So which file system is based on where? What is the file system that is based on?
If you could just give me some, I have around 10 minutes for question answers. I will cover at that time. So what we found is that when you go and look at the infrastructure that Google or Microsoft, Azure or AWS deploys, it is basically quite different from the application infrastructure that you deploy. You take servers, you take storage, you take network, and you put them together. On top of it, you put virtualization and you deploy. But then, if you look at it, the three elements there is that if you could pool the compute, you could pool the storage, and if you pool the network, and you could basically bring it together in a single infrastructure, and then you can make it a kind of a pool of resources that you can deploy for applications. What basically happens is that you can then decide how you want to deploy your applications and how much resources on the fly. And this element is very difficult to apply with a traditional infrastructure, because then you have separate management platforms for server, storage, networking, and everything has to be a very cumbersome process. So what we have done is we have taken all the elements of compute, storage, as well as network, brought them together in a single infrastructure, and then we have pooled all of them together on the composable infrastructure. So no one today has composable infrastructure except HP, and the reason we are doing is that we want the infrastructure to be as simple to use and as agile as that is available on public clouds. Now you can do a hell lot of element on the management layer above, but if your infrastructure below cannot support that, it is of no use. And then you can decide whether you want to run virtual, physical, or containers, any type of applications within that environment when you have composability. Second element of composability is the system should be smart enough. You should be able to create templates, and when you are connecting elements, it should be intelligent enough to tell you if something is going wrong. So all the intelligence which is there, and the system should be also intelligent enough to tell you what is going wrong. So the software-defined intelligence gets built into the platform. Third is that a single unified layer of code. So instead of having multiple scripts, multiple applications, multiple elements, management elements, what we have done is we have brought all of them together with a single API. So every vendor which is out there in the IT ecosystem only talks to a single API, and we are building integrations to it. And the benefits that you get with having such an infrastructure is that first, since you can take compute, storage, and network on the fly and just deploy it, you have basically, you don't need to over provision. Plus you can also load balance across multiple applications as the need is. Secondly, you can deploy at cloud-like speed. You can deploy containers in seconds, not even minutes. You have a single API, all the applications, whether it is a virtual environment or let's say a VMware environment or a Hyper-V, or let's say you have a ITSM tool, they also come and talk to the same. So if there is an application issue and a ticket is getting launched, the ticket, once it is getting launched, it is automatically the information is coming to the environment. The environment is then figuring out how to automate or how to respond, which is the best option. That intelligence is coming in. Fourth is that the constant application changes and the stack that you need to change, you need to get rid of this downtime and all the other problems that is there in the IT world, right? That every year end you will take downtime, then you will update your application and stack. Does Google take downtime and say that I will not be available for the next 5 days? They don't, right? Everything is running 24/7. So the same kind of feature is what we deliver. You can keep on updating, you can making the change. And when we are bringing in this new infrastructure, one of the primary concerns that a lot of people initially would have is that, okay, something new, something agile, something is good, but what is the capability of the system? Well, every kind of records which is there for benchmarks, every kind of records which is there for VMware, for the virtualized environment, the Synergy, which is our composable product, we are the number one. No one can even come close second. So the performance of the system itself is very high. So when we are bringing in all this new infrastructure with new capabilities, there is absolutely no compromise on performance. Now, while we look at synergy and composability, we are also finding that there are a lot of enterprises who basically want to have just simple IT operations. SimplyVity is our platform for hyper-converged, and while it is easy to say I have across multiple hyper-converged environment, if you go deep into hyper-converged environment, you will realize is that no two hyper-converged environment is similar. Someone else will have their own strength, we have our own strength, and if you look at it, the kind of data protection that is there, everyone may have a different kind of a solution. So what we have done is that we have taken the most resilient hyper-converged platform with built-in enterprise class resiliency as well as data protection. Plus all the data which comes into the SimplyVity platform is optimized day one. We dedupe, compress and optimize the data once and forever. So for the entire lifetime of the data it resides within SimplyVity, it is optimized data that is there. And we guarantee 10:1 saving. That means if you take your primary storage capacity and basically your backups, we will do 1:10 data reduction. Now that is something we have to say because of legal limits and all. Some of our customers which we can showcase, they get 40:1 data efficiency. 40:1 is huge. The kind of data efficiency is phenomenal. Plus it has got all the backups, it has got inbuilt backup, it has got inbuilt DR, it has got inbuilt multi-site replication and all the other features, so that if you deploy it at one location or you want to spread it out across multiple locations, you just manage it from a single site and everything is managed automatically by the platform itself. If a disk goes bad, the system will ask you to put in a new disk and it will auto heal. If there is a replication throttle which is happening because of which, the system is smart enough to understand. So with SimplyVity, we are delivering one of the most advanced hyper-converged platform which is there. And not to mention, it is deployed on the most efficient server platform and the most popular server platform which is there, which is the HP's ProLiant series. So we sell a server every 20 seconds, the one that is used for building hyperconverged. And it goes to everyone, even the small SMB up to our telco or global customers, everyone uses the ProLiant platform. And we have taken the most robust ProLiant platform which is there, and we have built our hyperconverged on top of it. So you can have local backups, you can have remote backups, you can have snapshot cloning, mobility across multiple sites. So whether you want to deploy a single location or multi-location, it doesn't matter. The largest SimplyVity deployment is for 125 systems across the globe, replacing more than 4,000 servers. And they used to have some 34 racks. And everything got consolidated in such a way that they did 100 million savings in just power and cooling. And they manage it, they have a global mobility platform now. Today, because everything is becoming multi-site deployment, you are doing DR, you are doing multi-site anyway, SimplyVity brings phenomenal capacity onto that. Third is Azure Stack. Now you may have heard from Microsoft that they have brought in Azure Stack, which is the same API element of Azure that you can deploy on-premise. So we are one of the largest partners of Microsoft, and the Azure Stack, if you want to deploy an Azure Stack, everything is available from HP. In fact, we go a little further and bring in additional elements like operations bridge and all, for which you can even use additional functionalities onto your Azure platform. And fourth, but not the least, is that how you consume it. You may get CapEx, you may sometimes not get CapEx. Then when you look at OpEx, you are also looking at, okay, if I just do an OpEx, if I need to scale, how will it factor in, right? So basis your business needs and all, we have a very efficient and innovative platform or service called flexible capacity. You can basically decide this is my X capacity and this is the additional capacity that I want to keep in-house. If I want to increase my capacity because of additional, you can factor in those delta. You will get a very granular per month billing based on your actual usage, just like public clouds. If you don't, let's say you are deploying 5 servers or 10 servers, or you can do it like course memory or storage, and you said I want to be on safety side, have 150 TB of storage, but I'm going to use only 125. We're going to bill you for only 125. So it's not product financing, it is basically how we add value by bringing in innovations in financing itself works. And overall, if you go back to your CFO and show them that you have flexible capacity, you will get a positive TCO. You will save money. You can do all kinds of, like you want to take a depreciation benefit and all, which your CFO would demand. The flexible capacity will give everything. We have accounted for all kinds of query that each of our customers have asked over a lifetime and then developed this offering. So there is a positive TCO to deploy flexible capacity, and it is going to every case. It's going to smaller accounts, it's going to our global accounts also. So this solution is opening for all platforms. So in conclusion, while it is very difficult to cover a huge topic as such in just 30 minutes, what I want you to take from this session is that we are trying to make the IT infrastructure as simple as possible. The world is going to be hybrid. It is going to be hybrid IT. So you need to decide basis your business requirements, basis what your ask from management is, how you deploy infrastructure. Secondly, how we can make IT operations easy for you, how you can deploy the public cloud, and how you can basically make IT consumption simple. If there is any questions, I don't know how much time is there for questions, so I can take it. Okay. So any questions you have on this?
Yeah, I was curious to know which file system are you using?
From a file system, see, if it is Synergy, if it is you are using Composable, which is Synergy, you can bring in any file system you want. There is no lock-in. It will work with VMware, it will work with Hyper-V, it will work with OpenStack, it will work with any kind of object storage. Yeah. Every kind of infrastructure is there. And also one important point is, while we are bringing all this flexibility and innovation, let's say today you say that I have a EMC storage that I have already invested in. I want some amount of composability, but I can't get rid of my EMC storage, right? You can take any existing infrastructure element and integrate it. If it is all composable, you will get, let's say, 100 benefits. If it is not all composable, you may get maybe say 50 benefits. But when we are saying that we are taking you to composability, we are not locking you in. The internal storage which comes with Synergy will support every hypervisor and every element which is out there. So I don't have that slide. It works with everything. It works with Docker, it works with Hadoop, it can do SAP HANA, it can do Oracle. You can deploy parallelly OpenStack. So within a single platform, you can deploy OpenStack, you can do VMware environment, you can deploy Azure environment. Can you do it with any other infrastructure today? No. And then when each of these infrastructure element is talking, they are talking only to the unified API. So there are very nice videos on YouTube in which the application got throttled and it was asking for additional infrastructure. The system was smart enough, it went and increased the storage capacity which was there. And all of this is automatic. You don't even need to worry. By the time you figure out what is wrong, everything is on, it becomes an escalated case, right? So 50% of all your escalations just go in. You can even have ITSM tools. Let's say if there is a hardware problem, the system can talk to the ITSM, log a ticket, and then back it log to the vendor. Or let's say there is an application problem which is there, which is choking the hardware performance, it can automatically log a ticket and send it across. And when we are doing such a kind of capabilities, we are not saying everything has to be end-to-end HP, then you get it. Basically, it's open infrastructure. Anyone who can do a REST call can basically talk to the system. It's that simple as that. Sorry.
On that platform, is it possible to set up something like a PaaS environment, like maybe I want to set up my own sort of cloud foundry or PCF?
Yes.
Is that possible?
Yes, yes, very much possible. In fact, not only possible, I have some of my, so I have reference architectures. So I ran out of visiting cards, and then because of GST, they got held up in customs. I don't know why it comes from US, but it does. So while I'm not carrying cards, so what we can do is we can connect. So there is reference architectures available for everything. You want to deploy OpenStack and Cloud Foundry, you can do it. You want to deploy VMware's version of containers, you can do it. You want to deploy basically any kind of infrastructure and PaaS environment, even the Microsoft one, you can do it. There is a reference architecture for everything. And then you can take a call, maybe if I go with a Cloud Foundry without the hypervisor, and directly as a CAS, which is container as a service, how I can deploy it, you can do all that stuff. A lot of benchmarks are also available.
And
so we can share all of them.
And what about the identity management? Is it using the Azure identity management like Azure AD, AD-B2C?
Yes, so if it is connecting to the Azure, it can use the Azure's identity management. If you want it to connect to some open identity management, it can also do it. So platform doesn't lock you to anything. You can, if you have already decided I am going to be, let's say, using X element, we'll just take it and integrate it.
So it is more of native then?
Yeah, it is native, and it will support even if you have something. The capability may be coming in from the platform, which may be our platform or from the third-party platform. Everything is supported. Yes, sir.
Since you are from a sales background, so I would probably ask one of the sales question as well. How do you see, the shift in the market? Because most of the companies are now also going for a SaaS-based model.
Yes.
And while the SaaS is happening, I know a few of the companies for which the IT application landscape or infrastructure itself has gone 50% out, and they are on to SaaS now. So how do you see that shift happening primarily, from more of a CIO-driven, some of these initiatives towards more of a product-driven now?
Okay, so I will not give you a sales answer. So this is not a sales pitch platform, but let me tell you something. When I showed you the 4 quadrant, and on the first I said there is public cloud, and if you deploy a SaaS platform, you will basically use it from a external kind of a public cloud environment. If your business says that a SaaS deployment makes more sense to you, you should go ahead and do a SaaS deployment. But then if you look at it, you have to ensure how the latency works, how the accessibility is, how much kind of preference of impact it is.
Yeah, that's why my question was, because in most of the SaaS platform, when you consume some of these services, you don't have control as an IT manager on these infrastructure parts.
I will give you 2 very basic examples which applies to me. HP uses SFDC. HP has another new platform for SaaS, which basically does some of the configuration management also. So in many cases, I find that working with SFDC is, while it is easier and faster, the other SaaS application based on where it is located and how they are performing, because latency is a big problem. Now it is very easy to come and show you a presentation and say SaaS is the way to go, but when latency hits and when the application is running slow, sometimes for something I could do in 10 minutes, it takes me 1.5 hours. The sheer frustration as an end user kills every kind of productivity which is. So if you are asking me, like someone says, oh, SaaS is the answer to everything, I said no. Please evaluate what kind of latencies you will be getting, where the application itself is hosted, what kind of performance in real life you will be getting, and then decide whether you should go for SaaS. It may make sense or it may not sense. It is all about your right mix. Someone who's hosting the application maybe within the Delhi NCR region, maybe the SaaS application may still make sense. If it is hosted somewhere, let's say outside the country itself, or let's say in US itself, the kind of latency itself will kill any kind of productivity gains for why you went to SaaS in the first place. And then let's say tomorrow you're putting all kind of important data onto that platform, and somehow the platform itself got hacked, which is very feasible in today's environment. Your data itself is gone, and now you have a security concern itself in addition to kind of performance.
Maybe I'll have a difference of opinion on this, because SaaS is also kind of a fact of life in terms of today's world. There are a lot of application and a landscape which is moving towards SaaS.
So if let me put it this way, it is all about your right mix. If your right mix says do SaaS application, it is right for you. So when we are talking at HP, we are not saying that public cloud or SaaS is bad. We use SaaS applications ourselves, right? So based on, like the gentleman behind us very categorical pointer, based on your business needs, based on the application, SaaS may be the right way to go.